This is Frankie Abbruzzino with the Scoop News, and I'm here to talk a little bit about rats. Rats, oh God, how I hate them. As anybody that follows me on my page knows that I've, through the years, have had rat problems while living in Venice. When I first moved back from Italy, my first night in the house that we rented on Harbor Drive, it was a nice Spanish-style house. It used to be next to a bed and breakfast, which I think they sold. And I remember we were laying there on our air mattress, and because our stuff was still being shipped over on the boat from Italy, and I woke up and saw a rat. And ever since then, we had a rat problem. And I must have caught over 40 rats, and I went ahead and on my personal page, I was logging my trials and tribulations. As I would turn on the kitchen light, they would jump out at me, and I was under full attack and fighting a battle, a war. We were renting, and the landlord said, it's because you guys were dirty. I'm like, no, I saw it the first night I got here, and then we later found out through his maid that it has been an issue in there, and he didn't want to accept responsibility. Finally, we made him send out a pest guy. He tried sealing it up and everything, and we found no joy. And I said, you know what? Let's get the hell out of here, and we got the hell out of there. Now we're in Pine Brook. We never had an issue until this year, and someone brought up a good point. Is it from Irma and all the debris? Because all of a sudden, rats are all over my patio, which is made out of tin. And you could hear them at night just partying and having a festa. And my neighbor came back, who's a snowbird, and I said, oh, yeah, now they're out of control. He said, nah, really? We've never seen any. Next thing you know, a few days later, he's telling me he's catching them like crazy big old ones in the garage, and he's got pest control there, and his tin roof, they're having a festa outside on the patio. And now they've penetrated into the house. I noticed like this morning, my dog Dino was sitting in front of the dishwasher trying to get at one, I guess, that may have hidden under there. They're up in the attic, and they sit there and growl and bark at them because you can hear them running in the attic. And I put traps up there, and just this morning I checked, all 3 traps were empty. I do have a new rat concoction that somebody, a fan of the page, made up, and I'll share information once I try it. And if it works, it's something her son put together. He used to capture mice, so we're gonna give it a try. The whole gist of this report is, I received an email yesterday. Nice lady. She came across nice. She said, I'm not trying to come down on you. I enjoy your page. I enjoy how you bring everything to attention. She's like, but, all these rat stories are getting me freaked out. And I'm looking at, should I just go back up north? How's this going to impact tourism? And what can we do to have the citizens get involved and get the politicians moving on this? And my response was, look, one thing, you got to have politicians that will recognize it and admit to it. And I don't know if you guys remember this, and I think I reshared the article where someone emailed the mayor, and it was like last year, and said, hey, this place is infested rats. I've heard it's infested. How come this is never brought to people's attention? And the mayor said, I've never heard of this, which I thought was amazing, because here, the guy's been here almost 20 years. He's been a mayor for, 7 years, 8 years, and he's never heard of a rat problem. And this problem goes back, it's always been here. I mean, I moved here in the 80s, and I used to work at Publix on the island, and we used to have to clear the rat traps every morning. Big Daddies, they used to be in that same Publix restaurant, had to close down because there were rat droppings everywhere from the rats infestation at that Publix area. Jetty rats, when I surf a lot, jetty rats have been known all over the place. You can actually, I remember one time I shared a story, and I don't know if it was last year or when, people were saying rats are everywhere. I'll be eating on Venice Avenue and I'll see them run across the sidewalk. And so I don't know if he was saying, I don't know about them just to deny, culpability. I don't know anything about it. I don't know if he did that because he knows people read it and he doesn't want people to impact tourism, which is something this individual brought up. It's sort of like crime. You notice a lot of the crime doesn't get reported. Like when there was a shooting on the island just a few months ago, it was drug related. It was right there on Harbor. You heard nothing about it except for me. Well, the politicians, the news leader, the local paper that basically is in the same school of thought, I guess, if you want to call it that, as Hollick, doesn't want that information disseminated out there. They don't want to impact tourism. Now, on my side, the letter writer wasn't coming down on me, but it was like, well, you're putting this out there, and aren't you impacting tourism? That's not my problem. I don't work for the Chamber of Commerce. I don't work to promote tourism anywhere. My job is just to seek the truth, get the truth out there. And it's not even my job, it's my hobby. I don't make crap on this thing. I personally think the politicians should fess up to it. And she said, well, how can we as citizens do something to eradicate the rat issue? I'm riding my bike, I'm freaked out. There's nothing you can really do. I think you're beyond the problem of solution. The first thing is the politicians need to admit that it's an issue instead of sitting there saying they've never heard of it in 20 years, which just utterly befuddles me. If there are anything they can do, then enact. If there's any guidance they can issue to residents, then issue that guidance. But really, you can't do anything, and it's something that impacts this. It's impacted this area for a long time. If you're a homeowner, you can just try to seal up the areas where they're coming in at. Basically, they pee down that wall and stuff, and there's such a strong scent, it's hard to get under control. They're popping babies out left and right. Once they get in your house, you can't poison them. You don't want them poison dying in your wall. Because trust me, I've had one die in the wall when I was on the island, and it's a horrible smell. You got your traps out there. You can try to call pest control. It does get expensive. And just place the traps everywhere, unfortunately. So, yeah, am I concerned about impacting tourism? Look, it's a good thing. My business isn't driven by tourism. Where I make my money is I don't even have any clients in this area. People are going to read the scoop no matter what if they want to. If they want the information, they generally get it first here. They get information they don't get from other sources. So, do I feel bad because business owners may lose more money because of tourism? No, I think the tourists are still going to come. I think most tourists realize that there's maybe possibly rats here. I mean, there's rats everywhere. There's rats up in Sarasota. The rat story I shared yesterday about the mall is actually up in Sarasota, Westville Mall. Rats in these water-prone areas, the island of Venice, is just something that comes with the territory. So, again, my goal isn't to deter tourism. My goal isn't to freak people out. My goal is to bring awareness to the issue. Now, if I really wanted to get annoying, I could put all the posts I've been sharing on my page of my trials and tribulations. At one point, I had a lineup of rats because I had a good kill one day. At one time, I got 2 in a trap at once. There are other issues out there, and I forgot I was going to touch on this. You go here. There's been so many stories, but one that caught my attention is one I forgot about. It's something I put out about how rat infestation is impacting houses and impacting the environment. And it was something I put out, and then later on, SNN ran a report on it, which is right here. And they basically touched on how it's impacting the environment. I'll see if we can get it to play real quick. Hold on, let me rewind it. It's an older one. Whoops.
Water pollution that has plagued Venice Beach
doesn't want to cooperate, does it?
Found, but the problem is.
Let's see if we can get this thing going. It doesn't seem to want to cooperate. Basically, they were blaming stuff like the rats as part of the pollution that's plaguing Venice Beach that's caused it to closed down a lot. Stuff like rat and raccoon doo-doo, polluting the waterways is what they said. Yeah, we can't get it to play. But you have stuff where you got these environmental issues out there, because if you're here a lot and you see a lot of the rain that starts coming down, a lot of times what's happened is the city's got these pipes. I think there's 17 of them strategically located on the ICW leading out to the Gulf. If you ever see a white pipe, you don't want to swim next to that in the Gulf. What it is it's water runoff. You get all the fertilizer from all the lawns. You get the, like this report was saying, what you couldn't hear is you get the rat doo-doo, the raccoon doo-doo, all the feces from the different animals that are out there that are getting absorbed, getting rinsed out into the water. Once I saw tourists, I've said this before, swimming next to it. They're right in front of it. I said, do you realize what these pipes are doing? They didn't know, and they had their kids right there. And it's not just in Venice. Sarasota has them too. Now, when I was a kid here, I think these things were installed something like 20 years ago. So when I was a kid here, they weren't here. It was a different environment. We didn't have a lot of the water pollution issues. But there's a lot of stories. If you go to my page and you click posts on the left-hand side, there a search bar will come up. You can just type in rat, and you can see over the years, I've been doing the scoop, 8 or 9 years? You can see over the years all the different stories involving rats and how it's been an ongoing issue, how major media has picked it up, and that again brings the issue to how the mayor doesn't know is beyond me. Again, I think he was playing politics and denying culpability and denying any knowledge of it and not wanting to scare people or tourism. That's all I can think of. All right, so that's the rat story. This whole rant came out because I was emailed about it and someone concerned about it and saying, and she's basically sick of seeing the stories about it. In a good way. She was being nice about it and saying, what can we do? What can the government do? I will put down the city council's email addresses above the video if you want to write them. But again, they really can't do much. But they can, except the fact that there is an issue instead of saying, I didn't know there was a rat problem. All right, this has been Frankie Abbruzzino with The Scoop.